Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
The next aspect that we are going to talk about is the characteristics of culture. Now, what do we mean by characteristics of culture? Characteristics of culture means the definition of the culture, the way we define culture, the way there are some of the characteristics, some of the ways of understanding the culture. So, here we go. The first characteristic is that culture is an acquired entity. The culture is acquired. I know we have talked about it before as well, that culture is not innate. That means it is not something that we are born in. It is not something which is a biological inheritance. It is something that is learned. It is something that is taken over or that is understood from the society. It is not innate. What do we mean by innate? Innate as in not inbuilt, not something which is coming from within. However, culture is a learned process which is there and which forms the process of socialization. So culture is learned, wherein all of these learning are there in the process of socialization. As a child does not mean that the child will be able to understand, that the child will be able to gather and know all the aspects of culture. Understanding of the culture is a process. It is a journey that we have throughout our lifespan. And this process is also the process of socialization, how we are in the society, how we react in the society, what are the changes that we need to do within ourselves to be a part of the society, to be an acceptable and an adaptable part of the society. So that is the first two aspects of the trait or the characteristic of the culture being acquired. It is a deliberate process. Now, what do we understand by a deliberate process? Deliberate means it is one, an ongoing thing, ongoing process. Second, it is something that we do intentionally. We do it because we want to learn about it. We do it because we are being told to do certain things which are as per the societal norms, and hence it is a deliberate process. It is an ongoing process. It is something that is there to understand the whole meaning, to understand, to interact, to gain information, to exchange information, to transmit information, to share information about your cultural practices in the society. So all of these things, your culture cannot stay in isolation. You cannot have the cultural practices in isolation. It is a combination of conversations and exchange of sharing of ideas, which is there, which makes it a deliberate process. Secondly, man internalizes cultural contents and develops the personality. When we learn it, we adapt it. We are in a way assimilating it as a part of our personality. We are adopting those rituals, those traits, those practices as a part of our personality, and that's how the personality development takes place. The way an Indian society child might react to certain things might be very different from the way a child from any of the foreign countries would be doing it. I'm not saying just from the West. It is from any of the foreign countries. It would be very different from how we might be reacting to things. Now, why is it that? It is there because our cultural practices are different. Our cultural aspects are different. Our cultural understandings are different, and that is how we exactly react to the situations. And Now, the next aspect under the acquirement of the status or the culture being an acquired entity is that the behavior that we learn under this is something which is socially acquired and is known as the learned behavior. So your culture has majority of the aspects, not majority, rather all of the aspects which is learned behavior, which is what we have acquired from the society, we have learned from the society. One of that very important aspect is language. One of that very important cultural aspect or the acquired culture aspect, as we all know, is how we interact, how we converse. Why do we say that, there's a very amazing saying and a very amazing story revolving around this, wherein it was said that it is a Birbal story wherein it is said that anyone who is in pain, the first words that the person would say would be in the mother tongue or the language, the first language that they have understood or learned. That is what they say. Why is it like that? Because that's the first thing that we have learned. That's the first thing that has gone in our mind in the parts of interactions, and we are the most comfortable around it. Very interesting to see. It is not important that a person who is an Indian but born in US would have Hindi as their mother tongue only, or would have Hindi as the first comfortable language. Why is it that? If it would have been a learned thing, that in that case, if a Indian is coming out, even if it is a non-resident Indian, they would have come with an understanding or with the language acquisition skills of Hindi. No, but it's not that way. Why is it? Because language is acquired. The way you see people reacting, people conversing around you, people talking around you, the kind of language that they are using, the kind of understanding of the language is what we form as a child. And that is what makes language one of the very, very important instrument of acquiring culture, and hence justifies that it is a learned behavior and not something that is innate, not something that is within us. The second very important characteristics of culture is that culture is social. What does that mean? That culture is not personal. It is not something which belongs to one person. It is not something which is a private entity. It is something which is the social heritage of a man. We share our culture with the members of the society. That is what we have talked about before in the video. And hence it justifies that the social heritage of a man makes the culture a social entity and not the private or the personal entity. It is inclusive of the expectations of the members of the group, which again says that it is a combination, or it is a shared entity between among the members of the group, and it has all the expectations or all the way of lifestyle that the members of the group acquire and want to see within you as well, and hence becomes the social entity. Now, moving ahead, it says that it is shared by the group members followed by the majority. Like we have discussed, when it is not personal, it is shared. It is shared because you learn it as a part of your culture, you learn it as a part of your way of life of the society, and hence all the members of your community or all the members of your society will be learning it from that particular aspect only, and hence it becomes the shared entity and not the personal or the individual entity. and then it is a social product rather than being an individual product. Individual being personal, that is what we discussed, that it is not a personal product, it is not something that I have, it is something that we as a community and we as a society follow. It is we rather than being I. That is what makes it a shared entity altogether. Next aspect of culture that we would be talking about is culture is transmissive. This is very important. Again, we have discussed about it, that it is transmitted from one generation to another. If you remember the kind of chronology or the sequence we talked about, that it is something that is learned, then shared, and then transmitted. That means it is something that we learn at once in the way of it being the social entity. We share it again because it is a social entity. We share it. We are able to relate to it. We are able to exchange our ideas with the society. And the third aspect is that we transmit it. We transmit it from one generation to another. How would the next generation get to know? How would the next generation understand what are we doing? How would the next generation understand how to react to certain aspects? This is how it is done, because it is transmitted from people of one generation to the people of other generation. If we go back, we never knew as a child that we would have to remove our shoes outside the religious places. We never knew as a child all the rituals that are involved in our religious context. We never knew as a child what all do, how do you talk, or what language is to be used, what are words. We have all observed it from the people of the previous generation, being very upfrontly told about those things, and that is how we have transmitted those ideas and those cultural practices. Again, language plays an important role in transmitting of the cultural traits. Language is one of the very important aspects in transmission as well. How will I tell you what are the aspects, or what are the ideas and the rules, or the or some understanding or some practices that I want you to follow as a child or as an adult when you are growing up? It is only and only done while I am talking to you and telling you that this is to be done, and that involves language. Now, language should not always be misunderstood by the vocal language that we have. There are a lot of other aspects of language. For the people who are not really able to hear and, maybe not see, Braille is a part of a kind of communicating language for them. Who are not able to hear, gestures are language for them. If while you're observing and the kind of reaction that you're getting from your older generations or from your adults, it is a kind of language for them. Either it will be in affirmation, okay, whatever you're doing is fine and you may continue doing it, or you will get a very quick response of a kind of punishing gesture, or rather of a non-affirmative gesture, wherein you would be like, okay, this is not something that you're supposed to do, and you will immediately capture that, or you will immediately get that language traits and stop doing it. So language, obviously in majority of the cases, is what we are talking about, the vocal sense. But it is not just the vocal language. It has all the gestures, other means of understanding, observation, communication, just by looking at how the other person has been treated, if he did something, and how you might be, you might also be treated. The whole understanding that goes in our mind includes the language, and that makes culture a transmissive aspect, and not just being static, and not just being at one place and not being transmitted. The other point is that culture consists of ideas. Now we talked about what all does culture consists. Culture consists of all those ideas which are abstract or concrete. There are a lot of ideas which are abstract, which you can't see, which you can't have a base of, which you can't really practice. You do not really practice it, but you have it in your mind while you're taking some decisions. You have it in your mind while you are while you're reacting to certain things. You have it in your mind while you are responding to certain situations. You have those cultural aspects or abstract cultural ideas in our mind. Concrete ones are definitely the ones which are seen, which are the ones which we perform. But when you see about the abstract ideas, it is how you think, how you have to relate one thing to another. It might be a concrete aspect or a concrete trait of culture to an abstract trait of culture. So the whole connection towards it also comes under the ideas that are being formed under the cultural aspect. Hence, very clearly mentioned that culture consists of ideas both abstract and concrete. The next aspect is the fulfillment of needs. Now, what do we understand by fulfillment of needs? It fulfills the human needs, either social or personal. When I say you will be accepted in the society, this is something that I have used quite often in my video before as well. It means that it is giving you that social connect. If in a room you are with some 10 people around you, and you are the only one who's not really being talked to, other 9 are interacting, other 9 are exchanging ideas, but you are someone who is sitting in isolation, you are someone who no one is making that move to come and interact with you, you are not making that move to go and interact with them. That is where you lack, and that is where you would feel that you lack that social connect. The social connect, as we say that human beings are social beings. When we say human beings are social beings, we mean that for us, existence is important in the sociological aspect as much as it is important in the biological aspect. When we talk about Darwin's survival of the fittest as well, he does not only talk about the biological means, he does not only talk about the biological aspect or the biological fitness, it also talks about the social fitness. How you change or how you adapt to the society around you, how you adapt to the social aspects changing and flickering here and there around you, and adjust yourselves to be accepted in the society and to be a part of the whole. This is very, very important. A part of the whole, where whole means the society, where whole means that all the members of the society are there. No one is actually left in isolation. So it fulfills the need. One is your social need and the other is the personal need. Now, where does the personal need come from? When you talk about personality development based on the social aspects of the culture, is where we define the personal needs. You also got to have certain way of thinking, certain way of understanding society. That might change or that might alter after some point of time. When we grow up, we see that okay, the other culture has some other understanding, we find that more logical, we find that more relatable, and we adapt or accommodate it in some way in our practices. But other than that, in the start, definitely for our personal development as well, we do need these cultural practices to help us, and that is how it makes the fulfillment of the needs aspect very important as one of the characteristics of culture. Now, individual needs, desires, urges, aspirations, etc., all are satisfied according to the culture. You get a lot of answers to your things. You get a lot of, you do get a lot of questions as well, for sure. You do get a lot of questions for which you want to go research, talk about it, see how is it going, find answers from your own understanding, find answers from the world around you. But definitely you do find questions, you do find answers to a lot of needs, a lot of urge, a lot of desires that you have within you, and that is what justifies the fulfillment of the needs part to it. Now, the next characteristics that we talk about is that culture is an integrated system. When we talk about integration, we talk about combination, we talk about amalgamation. We talk about that there is not just one thing which is there in the culture, but like we discussed before, it has a lot of diverse elements like knowledge, ideas, beliefs, norms, values, institutions, etc. So you have variety of traits, you have variety of spheres that are there. It's like a diagram wherein this is your culture, and within culture you have different aspects. It's like a molecule wherein within that you have different cells, which makes a complete cultural aspect and which makes it an integrated system. Changes in one element bring changes in another element as well, which is very true. Now, when you talk about a Venn diagram, it is this way wherein, this might be ideas, this might be belief, this might be some kind of norms. So when some norms are being altered, because it has a shared entity here as well, definitely will give us some kind of alteration in ideas as well. And exactly in the same way, the opposite is also true. If you have alteration in ideas, the norms might be shifted. If you have norms being shifted, the beliefs might be altered. If you have beliefs altered, again the ideas will be altered. So it is all an interrelated web. An interrelated web which actually gives a very clear understanding of the relationship that all of these have with one another as well. Obviously, when it is interrelated and has relationships, the changes in the one will definitely bring about changes in the other spheres also. And when we say it is an integrated system, that means when it is integrated and is there as a whole, as a combination, it is very much justifiable that if one is changing, it will definitely mutate the other as well. That makes the characteristics of the culture as an integrated system very simple to understand. The next aspect is the culture is a dynamic thing. We have talked about it before as well, that it is not static. It is not something which is permanent as a whole, which will not have any change. Wherein it is dynamic, it will have changes over some period of time. It very clearly says that culture is always changing. However, the direction at the rate of change vary from society to society and from time to time. In this pandemic time, we have seen and we have heard our ancestors telling us, the older generation telling us, oh, we are back to our cultural practices which we used to follow before. That means, the use of namaste, which is there, washing of hands, and all your exposed body parts, which is there when you were moving out, removing your slippers outside. We have been practices all of these things to keep the virus away from our houses. Now, all of these things were being practiced by the people of our previous generations as a habit, as a cultural trait. But over a period of time, we saw certain changes, and because of those changes, we were not really following it. But this pandemic, we were getting back towards those aspects or those practices, and saw our culture going a little backwards in the direction of that particular aspect only. And this is where it justifies the term direction. It does not mean that you will always have cultural advancement by going in the forward direction. You might feel like we felt that these were some of the things that were our the people of our previous generation were doing it perfectly right. And that's why we went back to adopting those things. So that means that the cultural change is not always to go in the forward direction. It might at times go in the backward direction, justifying it with the benefits that we were having from it and the challenges that we are facing in the present time scenario. Also, the rate of change also vary from society to society. There are a lot of societies who did not actually overcome or who did not actually leave these aspects till now, and they did not have to go back to it. They were pretty much observing all of those rituals and practices now as well. So that means the rate of change for those societies were a little less, or rather in this particular aspect, not that fast that we had experienced it, especially in the urban setups, right? So this is what they say, that the direction or the rate of the change may vary from society to society, but it is a changing aspect. It is always changing over a period of time. Innovations and diffusion are factors of cultural change. Obviously, you have some kind of an innovation, you have some kind of a technological growth, and that might infer a cultural change that might, have certain impact in our cultural lives and cultural traits and change our cultures. This is very much there. So, innovation and diffusion are very major two aspects which are the factors of the cultural change. This may lead to the cultural growth and development. Obviously, majority of the innovations and the technologies that are being made are being done because we wanted the growth and the development for our society. Now, when we say of growth and development for our society, we definitely understand that yes, these were two major aspects that we wanted to work upon, and that is why what are we doing? We are doing the betterment of the humankind or the betterment of the mankind and environment. So we are just taking steps for the betterment or for the growth, like they said, or for the development of the society only, not in a way planning or wanting to move at a backward pace. So these were few of the characteristics of the culture. I hope this was able to make sense. You were able to make sense of this. All of these are interconnected. You will not be able to see, or because it is a whole, it is an innate integrated whole. You will not be able to see, or you will find rather, that all of these things are connected, one leading to the another. And that will make the journey of understanding the characteristics even more easier for you. Now, moving ahead, there are types of culture as well. There are majorly two types of culture. One is the material culture and the other one is the non-material culture. Now from these two terms itself, it is very much evident and it is very much understandable that what does a material culture mean and what does a non-material culture mean. But let's see what are these two and how are these two related. Talking about material culture, obviously the form of physical objects and generally are man-made. All of your man-made objects like buildings, dams, radios, clothing, school, table, chair, your laptops, your technology, wires, machinery, all of these things are a part of the material culture because all of these are found in form of the physical objects and are majorly man-made, right? Now, it is concerned with the external mechanical and utilitarian objects. These are the ones which are external, as in outside of us, not within us, not innate us. Mechanical, something that can be used, something that has some kind of a usage. And utilitarian, as it's something which has some kind of purpose of existence as well. You have the purpose of existence of that object. You have it as external, as in an outside physical entity, and you have it mechanical, as it the usage is there, or you have it in the form of being operated upon. So that is some of the characteristics of the material culture. But over that, it includes the technical and the material equipments. Like I said, wires, you have machinery, you have your laptops, you have your technology. All of these things are a part of your technical and the material equipments. Then these are the products which can be easily borrowed, transferred and exchanged. Very, very important. Something like, I can borrow a laptop from someone, I can borrow a machine from someone, I can transfer my data from one laptop to another, I can exchange the kind of technology that I'm using for certain aspects with other nations, with other countries. So all of these are the aspects of the products where it is borrowed, transferred and exchanged. Generally, there is scope of improvement, the efficiency and the quality of the material objects. So there is scope to improve the efficiency. I hope you understand, it is how well are they able to satisfy the need that you invented it for. The quality, obviously we see every day with technology, the quality of all the material objects are increasing. There are some or the other technologies coming in. There are some or the other aspects. There are some or the other, some invention of some apps, some advancement that comes in the material objects. And that is what makes it a justified material object or a material culture. Now, one question to define it or to have the answer to what is the material culture is what we have. I have the laptop. I have the webcam. I have this pen in my hand. I have been to that school. I have a smartphone. All of these material aspects such as tools, machinery, instruments, etc. I have a guitar, I have a Casio, I have a keyboard. All of these things are what answer the question to the material aspect, what we have. The quality of the object can be measured easily, obviously, and plus it can be it can be compared as well. It can be compared to what you already have, and because we say it always has the scope of growth and it always has the scope of efficiency, increasing the efficiency, advancement, you can measure the quality very easily. They are concrete in nature, can be touched or seen. All of these things which are there, they are concrete, present in our hand, can be touched and seen. All of these aspects make the understanding of the material culture. Moving on to non-material culture. Now, it consists of all the non-physical abstract ideas, values, knowledge, etc. We are able to answer this by the question what we are. We have certain ideas which are there inside my head. I have certain values which are there within me. I have certain knowledge about things which is there within me. It is only a partial knowledge or a situational form of knowledge and understanding that I am sharing with you right now. You will not be able to get the complete whole of my knowledge about everything in the world right here in the video. So you can't possess my knowledge. You can't possess my ideas. You can't possess my values. What does that mean? You are able to take partial advantage of it because of me sharing it with you. But those are my ideas, my values, and these are the things what makes me or what I am. That is internal to the man. However, the material culture is external. It is visible to you. You can touch it. You can feel it. You can work with it. You can work upon it. Herein, it is an internal aspect. What if ideas are going on in my mind right now? I'm sure you will not be able to understand it unless and until I am sharing it out loud with you. I might have other 10 examples in my mind for the similar thing, but whatever I am sharing with you right now is what you are able to get as a part of my knowledge. So those are internal to me. Those are within me. Those are some things that makes me. All of these includes customs, traditions, morals, ideas, values, religion, law, etc. All of these things, all of these entities are there. There's no book as such which tells you what are morals or what all traditions are there. These are ideas. These are abstracts. There's no concrete whole to it to justify. Those are all ideas and values and knowledge that is within each one of us. And that makes it a non-material culture. Moving on, it cannot be easily understood or measured or transferred. Like I said, whatever I am transferring is what you are assimilating and accommodating. Not all of it can be done. It is not very easy to transfer as well. It is eventually done one after the other, and you eventually kind of adapt it within yourselves. At times you might have heard people saying, oh, I don't know, how will I make you understand this? Why? Because there are some feelings, there are some ideas, there are some understandings that we are not able to tell, we are not able to express. We fall short of words when it comes to expression. We are not able to express it in words because those are within, and you do not at times feel or you do not at times realize how to take it forward. It is inexhaustible, which means that the possessor will not lose when it shares with others. The kind of knowledge or the kind of understanding of the content that I'm sharing with you, I will not lose it even if I'm sharing with thousands of you right now. I will still retain it. I will still have it. However, if I share this pen with someone else, I will not have it. So the material culture is something that once you share, you're done with it. You're gone with it. You will not have it. However, the non-material culture is something I will still possess it. I will still have it even if I am sharing it with people around. the kind of understanding that I want to share with you on, let's say, my knowledge on this cultural aspects, or my ideas on, let's say, Marxism, or my understanding of, let's say, the global political scenarios. All of these will still remain with me even while I am sharing it with you. It will not go anywhere, and that is one of the very major characteristics of the non-material culture. Now, very important, what is the relation between the material and the non-material culture? Obviously, when you talk about the material and the non-material culture, both of these will be related. You can't imagine or you can't understand one without the other. This is what they very well explain. How are they explaining it? The product of a sculpture or a statue is a material product, right? It is something that is visible to you. It is something that is seen to you. It is something which is there in front of you. It is, but what is it? It is the imagination of an artist, which is definitely a non-material aspect or a non-material product. What you are seeing is just a part of it in my presentation as a part of my ideas on culture. What I am speaking is what you are able to transmit, because I am sharing my knowledge or my understanding on culture with you. But again, you're not able to take the whole, because it is within me and non-material cultural aspect. We do see the rituals that take place while the wedding is going on, but the whole process or the whole understanding or the meaning or the knowledge, the belief of that particular ritual is something which remains the non-material aspect. We do see a book. Yes, we do have a book in our hand, and we are able to understand, okay, this is what the writer has produced. We are able to read what the writer has written. But the kind of thinking that the writer would be having, the kind of imagination that the writer would be having while in the process of writing the book, is something that is a non-material aspect, and this stays with the writer even after he has shared the book with number of people around him. So that is what, and that is why we say that the cultural practices go, both the cultural aspects or the types of culture go hand in hand, and these cannot be understood in isolation. They are very much related to each other. Now, very important aspect that we should be talking about now is the cultural lag. What is the cultural lag? How does a cultural lag come? And what are some of the reasons because of which we are able to experience the cultural lag? So we have another sociologist, W.F. Ogden, who talks about the theory of social change, and he distinguishes between both the cultures. Now, according to him, the change in the material culture is quick, but in the non-material culture, changes are slow. It is very easy for a sculptor who is very good at his work to make a statue out of, the raw materials that's being provided. But the kind of understanding, the kind of imagination that he's putting it within is something that is slow, that takes time to come up, that takes time to change, that takes time to balance out things, that takes time as a change that one's experienced. Because of this, however, the material changes or the material culture is pretty quick. It is not very much difficult for us to make a building structure, but the kind of understanding, the kind of logic, the kind of, ideas, the kind of heart out it goes to make that building a home and the continuous process of it is what is the non-material culture. And because the imbalance is there in the rate of change or in the rate of speed of the change in the culture between the material and the non-material culture, this is what gives rise to the cultural lag. Whatever we are seeing happening one after the other in front of our eyes, our mind takes time to accommodate, our mind takes time to assimilate, our mind takes time to breathe, take that breathe in and adjust the chemicals in our mind accordingly. And hence is what we see or what we face is the cultural lag, wherein the material culture goes fast, running at a pace, and the non-material culture is taking some time, some sweet time to move and to take and to reach or to chase out to the material culture. If it is working, if the non-material culture is at speed X, then the material culture works or changes at speed 2x. I hope this is able to make sense to you. It is all related, like I said.